we're going to show everyone the signal flow from our mouth to our ears, but also from our mouth into our computer. What is signal flow, you might be wondering? Why do we keep bantering this phrase signal flow? Well, it's because signals, like transmissions, flow from point A to point B, or from point A to point Z, going through B, C, D, E, F, G. That's a lot of letters. Yeah. So we're going to follow the voice as it goes through the microphone, down a cable, into a device, through another cable, into another device, into another cable, and ultimately into this recording.
I'm Josh. I'm here with Dan. We are your hosts for Show Me Your Setup, and this is episode 7. Today we're going to talk about signal flow. We've discussed our equipment in past episodes. I've showed you all of my stuff. Dan has recorded in multiple locations, including his professional recording studio. We've had a guest, a professional voice talent, Amy, show us her production area and professional recording booth. But today we're kind of going to break down how our key elements in our signal chain function.
Yeah, sure. That's exactly what we're going to do. I think it'd be a great idea if we told everyone exactly what equipment we have in our signal chain and how we adjust it for optimal recording.
You're hearing my voice. I speak through a pop filter to catch those plosives, and I record into an MXL V67i large diaphragm condenser mic that connects to an XLR cable into my DBX286A mic preamp / processor. That goes out to a 1/4-inch monster cable and connects into my audio interface. It's the Motu M2. That connects via USB cable into a switcher device that I have. It's a USB 3.0 switch for 4 devices to use across 2 computers. Finally, a USB cable connects to my computer.
The USB 3.0, I think you meant to say. You don't have to take it back. Never mind. No. It's a USB cable. Continue with your game.
So the first thing I want to do is make sure that I'm hearing the audio comfortably in my headphones. I want to be able to hear my co-host Dan, and I want to be able to hear myself clearly. So I can do that with a headphone adjustment. Up or down. Dial it in. Am I hearing everyone comfortably? Then I focus on getting a proper input into my computer. I want to go up into the yellow, but not up into the red. If I turn down my microphone gain on my USB device, which I'm doing now, I'm going to progressively get quieter until you can no longer hear me.
It's getting real hard to hear you, Josh. Your levels got real low there.
And now I'm back up to where I should be. And now I'm going to raise it higher. And now it's going to get uncomfortable because I'm distorting. No one wants to hear that, so I'm going to bring it back down to where it sounds good in my headphones and looks good in the VU meter. So I'm getting a proper input recording level into my recording software. Your turn, Dan.
Okay, I'm going to describe my signal chain from microphone down to the computer, just like Josh did, only my equipment is slightly different. So first of all, I have a foam pop filter on top of my microphone, which is in a shock mount on a boom arm. So here's the foam pop filter that's on top of the microphone, and the microphone itself is the Electro Voice MC200. It's held into an Audio-Technica shock mount, which is connected to a boom arm, which carries the Mogami gold cable all the way down to my Focusrite Scarlett Solo. It has an XLR input. It is connected via a USB cable into a switcher as well, a USB switcher, which handles 2 devices. From there, it goes through a USB 3.0 into the computer. That's how I've connected. If I needed phantom power for a condenser microphone, this unit does have that. However, this dynamic microphone does not require phantom power, so the phantom power is currently turned off. Just like any other device that does this sort of thing, there is a gain knob, and I have it dialed in, again, like Josh was describing, In the green mostly, dipping into the yellow a little, not getting into the red. If I turn mine down, which I will do now, you will notice that I get progressively quieter until at some point you don't hear me at all, but you see my lips moving, unless you're in the audio-only version, in which case, if you're in the audio-only version, you didn't even see my lips moving, you just heard nothing. Now I'm going to go all the way to the very tippy top, and that's where I might get distortion. So I'm going to turn it back down because that sounds too loud to me. And I'm going to look at my levels as I dial this and listen, and yeah, that's a good enough balance. I think we're back where we need to be. That's gain adjustment on the Focusrite Scarlett Solo using the knob.
And quickly, the reason you want to dial in for your own comfort while you're listening to headphones, but really it's for your listeners' comfort as well. No one wants to sit through a podcast where someone is over-modulating. It's hurtful. It actually will hurt your ears.
I don't know. I kind of think it might be nice. Really nice. That's why I'm going to do this for the rest of the episode. Actually, no, I won't do that. One of the important things to know about your signal flow is if something isn't working, how do you diagnose it? Well, check the connections. See if that microphone is connected properly to the XLR cable. Go to the other end, see if that XLR cable is plugged into your digital interface. If that is also connected and you see the lights flashing and everything, you know that's working, then check the USB signal. Now, that's probably going to be okay because otherwise you wouldn't be hearing or seeing anything. Check all your connections. When in doubt, unplug and plug them back in. And if that doesn't work, restart your device.
Yep, restarting the USB audio device, it works for me maybe about once a week.
Or the entire computer.
Yeah.
Which brings up another tip, one we never talk about. If you're planning to record and have a nice session with somebody, consider closing all your other applications, everything else on your computer. In fact, consider rebooting your computer, making sure nothing's open, and then just doing the one dedicated task you're trying to do. The less the demand on your CPU from other pieces of conflicting software, the better your recordings are going to be. There are a lot of different microphone types. You might notice I have mentioned that I have a dynamic microphone. This one has a cardioid pickup pattern. That means it's kind of heart-shaped, but basically means it has a sweet spot in the front here and starts to reject more of the sounds from around here and behind.
On the other hand, my microphone is a large diaphragm condenser. It's very sensitive from what I read before purchasing it. It also has rejection characteristics. It's side addressable, so I'm speaking into the side of the mic rather than the top of the mic. Whatever is behind the mic is being rejected. Do you have anything more to offer about condensers?
Yes, it requires a 48-volt phantom power, which his Mo2 M2 is providing, because he's turned it on. I don't know if you mentioned that.
Incorrect.
What? Oh, the DBX is producing. I'm sorry, the DBX has a phantom power because he's plugged into the DBX 266A? 286A. Ah.
Yep.
You know, memory. I need some more RAM in my head. Okay, so here's what I know. Mo2 stands for Mark of the Unicorn. I didn't know that until the other day. But more importantly, that's not where the phantom power is coming from, because in Josh's description of his signal chain, he said that his, let me see if I remember, the MXL V67i microphone is plugged through a XLR cable, which I think it's important to note has a right angle on the end because it's really cool looking.
Thank you.
Like if you look at that, that's a sweet piece of hardware. Otherwise, the cable would be sticking out and like dangling around, and this makes it very elegant.
I can actually reach by it and around it. It just doesn't stick out as much. Yeah.
And so that's not your typical everyday XLR connector. I just wanted to mention that that's a really nice
Thank
unit.
you.
So in addition to that, that's being plugged into the DBX 286A channel strip. That's where the phantom power is coming from. I sound best on this microphone if I talk right into the front of it. If I go off to the side, I sound different. If I go down here, or I talk up here, it's just not the same thing. If I rotate it and I talk across the top, again, that's not optimal. Which is why I should address this microphone thusly.
It's pointing at you.
It's pointing at my face, right at my mouth. Which brings up a handy trick that few people know about. So, we're talking about ways to mitigate plosives when you're recording with a microphone. One option is a windscreen like Josh is using in front of his. You'll see that big black disc that's nylon mesh stretched across a ring that blocks that wind, that rush of wind, which is a plosive, which on a microphone can sound like a little hammer. Plosives pop. Yep, those pop. Yeah. Those plosives, they pop. On my microphone, normally I use a foam pop filter. These work wonders, but maybe you don't have one, and you find you have a big plosive problem. One thing you can do is get a pencil and a rubber band. And if you affix the pencil to the microphone with the rubber band, and you make sure that pencil is pointing at your mouth, then when the puff of air comes out like a big wall, oops, I just broke my pencil trick. This will be handy for the next plosive. The point being, the point of the pencil breaks that popping so you don't get that hammered that snap. It gets broken up by the tip of the pencil, except when you knock the pencil out of alignment like I did. So I aim it carefully at my mouth, and if I extend it out further, pop. Yeah, so that's the pencil trick. Pencil nice. Popping peas. Now we'll take it out. Pencil popping peas. And now we'll just take it off altogether and put the foam back in place and resume our regularly scheduled recording.
Cool, Dan.
There we go. The pencil trick. Have you any similar annoyances to discuss?
Another thing that I find annoying is when you hear people banging or tapping on their desks during podcasts.
The old drumming fingers on a desk or a table.
Yep. Or excitement when you're making a point, you just want to hit
Pound
that desk.
Yep.
You can always ask your guests, please be mindful. Don't thump on your desk when you're making a point. Maybe put your hands in your lap or something.
That's a great point. You certainly can ask them. However, I think we all know that in the heat of the moment, when people get excited, that's when the thumping happens. And unfortunately, you can't calm down the heat of the moment and you can't recreate the heat of the moment. So is there another way to mitigate that kind of thumping, hammering noise from getting into your recording?
There is. I'm using it right now. It's a shock mount. These rubber band type elastics are kind of keeping my microphone floating in place rather than the microphone being attached solidly. It creates separation from the desk. I'm going to thump my table now and see if it sounds annoying. I guess you can hear my wedding ring. Let me try to tap without the ring.
Yeah, we can hear a little bit of noise, but we're not getting that low-end thump.
Okay.
I bet if you were to tap the microphone, it would be a whole different matter. Yeah, and there it is.
There we go. So that's the difference, isn't it?
And there it is.
Yeah, so we would have heard that if I didn't have this shock mount.
Exactly.
So pretty inexpensive device. Often microphones have a specific model that is made to fit them. Show us yours.
No.
Our microphones are kind of suspended rather than being attached.
The original factory elastic on mine failed because it's very old. Yeah, and the thing is, I'm very, let's say, frugal about some things. Well, I have 2 daughters. They have, over the years, had many, 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 many hairbands. Oh, so many. They wind up on the floor. The cat knocks them under the couch. Hey, girls, you want these? No, it's on the floor. So I'm like, okay, I've got a pile of stuff they're never going to use. Anyways, yes, shock mount. Very handy thing.
Bad sound is something people can usually pick up pretty quickly, and it's a big turn off right from the start. It's like a first impression. If a host sounds bad, you may not even listen to that podcast.
One of the reasons you want to dial in your sound is because the better you sound, the more listenable you are. If you've ever tuned into a podcast and it was hard to listen to because the host, their audio was so thin and just not present, it turns you off. You don't want to keep listening to that time and again. You don't want to come back to that. You don't want to listen to bad speech or rather poorly recorded audio. Use some of these tricks to make yourself sound better in all of your virtual presentations. So, folks, one of the things you might want to think about is now that you're in remote meetings all the time, how you look and how you sound are kind of important. we're going to give you tips on how you can look and sound really professional in all of your meetings, all of your virtual meetings. Here's one. Boom. Dan's bringing the boom into view. Speaking of boom arms,
why do we use them?
This is why, because we can get ourselves into the right spot for the visual and our comfort, workflow, ergonomic everything. And then when we want to sound good, we can move the microphone to that special spot right there. And I'm going to bring the mic in and talk to you. Hi, everybody. And when we're not using it, it's not in the way of our karate.
I like it because my microphone is out of the way when I want to work, and when I want to meet with my coworkers, I can bring it into the mix.
Yes, I have found that in coworker meetings, those of us who have booms get the microphone in front of us. Those who don't use the little crappy microphone, and they don't sound as good.
Yeah, the little crappy mics on the webcam.
I'm not going to put that in the video, but it's a fact. I mean, if you have a nice microphone, why not use it when you're meeting with everybody? And then we're going to put the mic away because we're done. One thing you can do to look really good in a meeting is add additional lighting, because without it, it doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
Let's face it, this is not the look you want. So spend a little time ahead of time dialing in things, and you'll look better for your videos. We've talked about gain stage. That's how you sound better. This is lighting. That's how you look better. It's about where your camera is, how it's angled, what kind of a camera you have. But it's mostly about the lighting, because I've found that even a crappy webcam, if you have a lot of lighting, gives a nice clear picture. So if you think that your camera isn't good enough, try turning up your lights. I was in the dark before. I was deep in the shadows. And Josh said, Dan, I think you need a better camera. Then we turn on the lights and he said,
Say, your camera's not working so hard now.
There you go.
It's showing off the actual quality that the camera manufacturer promises it can deliver. It actually looks good because you've provided enough lighting.
Wow, lighting.
We have had a great time with this series, Show Me Your Setup, and we look forward to showing so much more. Dan and I will, of course, be sharing our setups. We hope to welcome guests on the show. We're welcoming you to think about the idea of being on our show, joining us, becoming a guest. Send us some photos of your setup and describe it, and let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation and see if we might want to go forward with the idea of coming on our show. The easiest way to do that would be to shoot us an email at showmeyoursetappodcast@gmail.com. You could also go to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/GoModPod, and interact with us there. Post a comment, we'll see it, or send a message there. Twitter, you can do that too, twitter.com/GoModPod. If by chance you didn't know that we also have video recordings of Show Me Your Setup, Show Me Your Setup is indeed a YouTube series. Go to our YouTube page.
At GoModPod. Sorry to yell over you, Josh.
No, it's perfect.
I just get excited about the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
At GoModPod. Subscribe. I want the stats. I want all of your data. Well, I don't want your data. I just want your subscription. I'd like you to support our show by doing one of two, or maybe three things. So the first thing you can do, obviously, is tell a friend. If you like what you're seeing, what you're hearing, if you like the communication, if you like the stuff we're sharing, let us know. But definitely let somebody else know. Send them a link to our show. So another thing you can do is subscribe, of course. You can do that on our YouTube. You can do that via the RSS feed. There's a lot of options. If you go to our website, GoModPod.com/Show
Me Your Setup.
That's it. /Show Me Your Setup. Or just go there and click on podcast
dashes
in the menu and you'll get to us.
Yeah.
There's ways to subscribe via Apple, via Spotify, Google Play. So you can subscribe, you can follow us, and you can engage with us. You can interact. You can send us an email, like Josh said, to showmeyoursetappodcast@gmail, and we'll respond in a timely manner, and we'll say, hey, come on our show, show us your stuff, or tell us what you'd like us to tell you how to do. Be it change the this, the that, the who knows. I don't know. That's why you need to tell us. Tell us what you'd like to hear more about or what you'd like us to show you.
In addition to the request that Dan just made. I definitely agree with him, and I'd love for all those things to take place. I would love you to leave us a comment on YouTube. Again, youtube.com/@GoModPod. Leave a comment under a particular video. We'd love to see it, and we'd love to respond back to you. And thank you very much for watching this episode or listening to this episode, and thank you for subscribing. We'll be back with episode 8.
If only somebody would hit stop on the recording for his condenser microphone. Again, my dynamic microphone does not need the 48.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't need the 40. Hello. Yeah. All right, I'm back to end this thing.